Hi, my name's Ashley Wylde and welcome to my channel, Ashley's Wild Life. In this video, I want to talk about gender as a social construct. What it means to be a man and what it means to be a woman involves more than just biological sex. In particular, the way that we communicate to others that we are a man or are a woman or are any other gender is through performance and through gender roles. A gender role is everything that a person says and does to indicate to others or to themselves that they are a man or a woman or androgynous, or to indicate that they don't have gender. Some of the ways this manifests in our society are in these idioms that we have, like women are the weaker sex and they need to be protected, and big boys don't cry. These are examples of how gender roles are reinforced. In Western culture, a man is someone who is a protector and a provider, and a woman is someone who is a nurturer and a caregiver. And when you violate those gender roles in our society, you're probably going to receive some pushback. My argument is that the pushback isn't necessary. There's kind of this misinformation that gender is something that is included in human nature, that it's universal across our species, and that based on the fact it's universal, it should be able to be enforced. But how could it be universal when cultures across the world have different gender systems? For example, in India, there's effectively a binary system consisting of men and women, but there's a third gender called the Hijra that's been recognized in India since the 8th century. That doesn't really sound like Western culture's interpretation of gender. Another example is that some Native American cultures recognize two-spirit individuals, and it has a special significance to those cultures that I won't speak to because it's not my experience, but it's not a bad thing in those cultures to be a two-spirit person. There are also people in Chile who believe that in order to do certain tasks, you need to channel a certain gender, and that's their belief about the way gender operates. So lots of other cultures around the world have space in their interpretation of gender for gender variance. If gender was universal, if it was something inherent, if it was something that all people were born with an understanding of, then we would expect to see it universally across cultures. And since we don't see it universally across cultures, that means that it can't be universal, and instead that it's culturally constructed from culture to culture. And when you can understand gender as a social construct, it's a lot easier to understand how our culture can be oppressive to people who experience gender differently than man or woman. Because man and woman are words that we invented as a culture to describe certain phenomena, and they don't describe all of the possible options. So when one of those doesn't fit you, it's not because you're weird. It's because socially we've constructed a system that doesn't work. A system that doesn't describe the experiences of all of the people in our culture. So I challenge you to do more research, read more, and learn more about the perspective of gender as culturally constructed. Because I think it's really the foundation before you delve any deeper into the conversation about gender or gender equality. I hope you can understand why the interpretation of gender as something we are inherently born with is mythical, and the social and cultural construction of gender is very real. Thank you all for watching. Bye-bye. Well, the reality is this, and it makes perfect and logical sense, boys are gonna be boys. Boys are just gonna be, they're gonna be boys. They're gonna do boy stuff. Just, if you're a boy, you're a boy, you're a boy, you know?